And with that, we should be live? Yes. All right. Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today, now with extra hand movements, I am here with Darkest Light and Vector Maximus after a long rant about world building stuff like glass deserts and other nonsense. We are here to discuss the very first Tinto flavor, and it appears today we're talking about types of content and guidelines. Maybe I'll have to rename the stream later. But I saw that one of the first things we're talking about is international organizations, like the Guelphs and Ghibellines, which will be fun. I can't wait to stand the Pope or the Emperor. Everyone loves that. So, yes, happy Friday. We'll be sharing. Yes, we're good. This is the series where they're going to be discussing all sorts of stuff about the various specific content things, because they are finally out of maps to show us. So I have something new. Yes, hello Armas. That was quick. That was quick indeed. But we won't be taking a look at any country-specific flavor for the first one, but a more general, as I believe Vector was saying before we started, an overhead overview of a few things. Hendrix keeps launching Bannerlord. Stop it! Stop it! Go away. Shut down Steam. There we go. Oh gosh, we're going to be going through more things than I thought today. Oh goodness. List with all the different elements and start talking about them individually. Okay, so it's an overhead view of all sorts of things, and then in future they'll be specifying about more specific ones. So yes, tragic, no HRE information today, more of a general overview. But yes, international organizations, and then we get to situations, disasters, and stuff. Woo boy! What is the most interesting one of these? Works of art is something I'm very curious about, and how they get created, because that's related to the whole cultural. There's the cultural offense and defense system where you can convert culture or resist being converted better. Buildings, units, ship, cabinets, actions, diplomatic features, religious features at the very end. All right, tucking it away in the corner. It makes for quite a varied menu. Alright, but to get started, international organizations from Tinto Talks 12. Oh gosh, there's been so many! Oh. But the Guelphs and... No, they're not showing the Ghibellines there. There are plenty of international organizations, both unique and generic. They may also appear throughout the game, either organically, by some game mechanics, or as scripted content. Yeah, there's specific ones that can show up as the game progresses, or ones that more generically appear, like the... what are they? Personal unions. All the personal unions of certain characters are considered in a international organization underneath that specific character, but we don't know a whole lot about how that works. Monthly prestige. So the leader gets, that's a pittance of prestige, but it's something. And all members of the Guelphs. This is the papal faction. So everyone. Ooh, that's very interesting. All members of the Guelphs faction have more loyal clergy and more loyal burghers. I'm surprised it's not reversed. I would have expected it to be 10% clergy and 5% for the burghers. But the most interesting thing that this does for sure is excluded from imperial protection. Now that's a juicy piece of code that I can't wait to make use of for slapping that on any number of people.
Unsurprisingly, the Emperor is not much keen to defend those who decry his authority.
Yeah, see, these people like the Pope more. I think that the Pope should rule the North Italian states? How ridiculous. Well, they can be conquered by France if they so wish. Though I suppose France in this game's point in time has a couple other princes that are in between them and Italy, so yeah. But lots of Republic. Well, the Papal States are involved in it. That is. I should have known. I guess they're the leader theoretically. Oh, well, the Kingdom of Naples is at the top, so maybe Naples is the leader. Also, I'm surprised that Naples is in it because I that implies that all of Italy is in it, which I did not know. I thought it was just the North Italians. But mm, uh, I wonder what happens. Are they not going to show us? Oh, damn. I really am going to have to rename this this stream later then. Jeez. Um,
Yeah.
I, I wanted to know what the Ghibellines do.
Oh, you don't get to.
But Dark, if the Guelphs are excluded from Imperial protection, does that mean that the Ghibellines, if Naples joins the Ghibellines, does that mean that they get Imperial protection? And
Seethe. Seethe.
I am seething with roiling rage. The pro-papal Guelphs and the pro-imperial Ghibellines. It is very sad we don't get to know more. But situations. All right, the Nambokucho Jedi. So this is the many courts thing, or the two courts,
Northern and Southern Court.
northern and south courts. Uh, the Kamakura Shogunate, the restoration of the imperial rule under Yamato Go Daigo. Yes, they're not even showing us. They're not even showing us the modifiers. I want to see modifiers.
Sorry, we'll need to have the game to see them.
I guess so. Or
Although
they're just holding.
I wouldn't be shocked if we get a dedicated Tinto flavor to Japan at some point, which will show this and the 100 plus daimyo building base countries that they've got.
Which is just insane. And I definitely will.
Bonkers.
I totally will not replicate this anywhere else ever. I promise, pinky swear, I would never do something that crazy. I am a very sane individual who would never bloat the map with that many building-based countries. The first month of the game triggers this, yeah. Oh, so the... Okay, so yeah, the country starts united, but then it splits up. Makes sense. You liked this Tinto flavor post? It was like, look at all the things you can use. Yeah. So this is definitely something that, this is really interesting from a modding standpoint, where you get the excluded from Imperial protection. I'm really curious about there being more things like that. But we don't get any information about situation stuff from here, sadly. Disasters maybe though, because disasters are definitely something I intend to make quite heavy use of. Have to see if you can avoid any disasters in our eventual Super China, Elf Super China. Disasters are usually a negative type of content that impacts one country, but in Project Caesar they get a separate panel. The UI can be used to interact with them, although we will show them in future Tinto flavors. Oh. So a rebel growth +1. Celestial authority. So, yeah, war exhaustion, inflation, rebel growth, and celestial authority change. That does not seem very good. And having less than 20 celestial authority is one of the things that causes this. And then having less than 0 stability. I thought stability goes from 0 to 100. Does it go to -100 as well? Huh. Less than 50 legitimacy. So I guess stability goes all the way to -100 and legitimacy just stops at 0. So, I mean, looking at these values, that doesn't sound so hard to avoid. This looks like it wouldn't be hard. It's like, surely having more than 20 celestial authority isn't bad, but I mean, if you already have it, I mean, the fact that it gives you even more reductions to it means that it's probably really difficult. It's basically impossible to get out of. Maybe you start with it and you need to get out of it is the idea, or you need to try to, but it's basically impossible. The heaven grows dark and grey, at the cusp of losing divine favor. The crisis of the Yuan dynasty is a dynamic, unique disaster for China that can happen multiple times during a playthrough. Oh no! Oh no! It's a dynamic losing the mandate of heaven disaster for all Chinas.
We are leader of Middle Kingdom.
Then
I
it
see.
grows.
It doesn't say Yuan. That says Middle Kingdom.
That's
Yeah, Middle Kingdom is the international organization for the Chinese Empire. Whoever has the mandate of heaven, basically.
Vector, are you excited to make our very own Crisis of Artamziata? You are leader of Anshar's realm or something?
Oh yeah, so excited.
I can't wait for all the inflation. China gameplay right there, fighting yourself. Yeah, you can't fight other people, you'd be too strong. Crumbling bureaucracy, agricultural failures have tipped the scale against us. The people no longer recognize us as the legitimate rulers of our dynasty. I love this. The Middle King. We'll talk about this more in a future, more in depth. We'll talk about the. We will talk about this in the future more in depth about the Middle Kingdom International Organization and all of the content created for China, and how all of the assets interact with each other. Perfect. I cannot wait until that Tinto flavor. That will be very fun to dissect and be like, what can I steal from this? Yes. Event. The humble event is the most common type of content present in the game, as we already have some thousands of events scripted and implemented. There are two types. As in other Paradox Grand Strategy games, random events and unique events of this second type. The most common is the Dynamic Historical Event, DHE, also well known in other games. Yeah, this is the well, I guess Dynamic Historical Event. The dynamic event was just making me think, oh, well, that's obviously just the random event pool. But the fact it says dynamic historical event makes it sound like it happens under specific circumstances. I guess invite German settlers might be something that happens under certain circumstances. Due to plague and war, our country is mostly depopulated, and the small number of peasants are spread very thin over our vast territories, making activities that require huge amount of workers, like reaping the harvest or clearing new lands, very difficult to accomplish. We can invite new settlers and artisans from the German lands to come and create new towns in our holdings, by providing them with help and special privileges, like the right to be ruled by their own laws and lower taxes. Welcome them. Welcome them, help them settle directly, and we don't need more foreigners. Help them settle directly, I guess, must be the thing where it has a higher cost, but you get more people. And then welcome them is probably relatively minimal cost, if not free, just tossing a bunch of German settlers into whatever country you are. Presumably this is a Hungarian or Polish thing, I guess. Maybe even the Czechs? Don't know. Might be for a bunch of different people. It's a recurring event that can happen to countries with their capital in Eastern Europe that have enacted a specific privilege for the peasants. So an invite German settlers privilege that'll cause this event to happen sometimes. To portray the late medieval Osteidlung. You have three options to deal with them. The last one would directly revoke the privilege, and no more German peasants would be invited to migrate into your country. This is a little... I'm curious how this works, because I thought the point that peasants aren't able to migrate, but I know migration attraction's a thing. I was kind of thinking for a while there that the only pops that would really be migrating are burghers, but, I mean, you gotta have peasants migrating to new fields. So, I don't know how this is going to work then. Sure, this is clearly a way that you get German pops to migrate to you. And does this take them from German locations? What happens on the other end, I'm curious about. But again, won't know until we see the game, I guess. Where'd you get that
There's
from?
actually a comment later on in the comment section saying that yes, there will be an event for the other end, basically saying we are losing people to X location because they're settling. It's basically like directed migration slash immigration slash emigration. So
That makes sense. Then, yeah, there will be another end of it. But where did I get it from? Is probably just a law. Yeah, when they were first talking about population, there was something about that. But Rasak, now that you say that, is probably just a law. That's a very good point because I remember there is a slider. There's a national value between free subjects and not. So free subjects between like yeah free subjects and serfdom. So if you have if you're more serfdom leaning, then you probably can't have peasants migrating in and out of your country as easily. That's a simple explanation for it as far as I see it. Um, Government reforms, all the way from Tinto Talks 40. An Anatolian Belyuk government reform. Government reforms define the shape of the country, thus being a very valuable flavor asset, especially the unique ones. It's also one of the ways that we use to hook permanent modifiers, as there aren't many sources in this game, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm seeing that the sources of unique modifiers are government reforms, um, the societal values could count, but those also come with a direct negative always as well. Societal values, government reforms, and tech. Those are the only ways you get them, it seems. Yeah, advances. So the Anatolian Belyuk gives you unjustified war on same religion cost down. Gives you decreased no CB cost on fellow Muslims. Oh, that's great. Oh, an extra cabinet seat. Is that universal? Do all government types just get a +1 government seat or more, depending on how advanced they are? Or is this a specific, like, oh, the Anatolian Belyuk just has a little more than other people? So that'd be interesting. And the aggressive expansion going down is pretty neat. That's handy. Cabinet seats might be the most powerful modifier in the game. Indeed, that's basically just that's a very strong modifier. If it is the case that the Anatolian Belyuk just has another one, and this isn't a case of like, well, most governments have a baseline of X many, but some are better and have like two, and as you advance in time, you get more advanced ones or something. But yeah, Anatolia would be a hellhole at the start of the game. They have extra cabinet seats for like culturally and religiously assimilating people, integrating your counties, because you got to focus on integrating those newly conquered territories. And the no CB cost, damn, no CB cost and AE down. That's good. That's fun stuff. Um, Situated in the turbulent region of Anatolia, we have emerged after the decay of the Sultanate of Rum, whose border we used to inhabit. Hardened warriors and capable bureaucrats make up the base of a robust government. Okay, so they do in fact just that makes it sound like this is a unique thing that they have an extra cabinet seat, which is fantastic. I don't know about the no CB cost on same religion though long term. I'd need to see more. I need to see what more government reforms are because we have not seen many, and I don't remember what feudalism does. I think we've seen the generic. Oh wait, we can take a quick glance back there. What government reforms? Diplomatic traditions. Military order. This is one. Well, I don't remember enough because I don't think we've got time to be looking into this deeply. But there's a couple ones that are like I forget what the okay the military order. These are like yeah major reforms. So I think the major reforms are the ones that are yellow. Yeah, because the blue ones are that. So the Anatolian Belyuk is not even a major reform. Um, the unlocking what? It unlocks other interesting content like a unique succession law. So this isn't even a major reform. This is just another, like, this is one of the minor aspects of your government theoretically. Um, that there will be something else that is your major reform in addition to Anatolian Belgic. So the Anatolians might just be cracked with this if they just because I mean the no CB cost not that crazy long term, but useful early game for blobbing fast and the AE going down. But the cabinet seats long term is crazy because everyone starts with a base of 2, I think, but you just have 3. That means you have the same amount as France. Hey yo, hot pocket pie lord. Lord. Laws and policies. Nice, nice. Hey ho. Hey ho, Penzor. Nice, nice. Alright, so laws also define a society, and we have several spread over 5 categories: administrative, religious, socio-economic? That's goofy. Estate and military. And you may already know that each law has different policies to pick one upon, some of them being generic and other unique ones. So, is there, okay, there's no other tab down there. Yeah. Estate, I like that. I like that icon of the, actually, I like all of these icons. It's like the Imperator icon for religion changed a little bit because they hit the sun thing. And I like the pyramid for estate. Socioeconomic is so goofy though. What the hell? That line goes up. What is this? Apologize for missing out and annoying me on Wednesday. Well, I suppose I'll forgive you. I'll consider forgiving you, hot pocket pie lord. But see, under military laws, we get order of chivalry. Is this? So this is presumably like, I don't know, you're France and you have a law of chivalry. Has chivalry order? Yes. What does that do? Order of chivalry allows the following policies. Huh. Order of the Black Eagle, White Eagle, Swan. Do you guys have any ideas what this is about? Policies?
Not
Well,
particularly.
several of those are historic ones, are historic chivalric orders. But I'm assuming it's something you can do to either consecrate, honor a certain character, or maybe it unlocks a building-based country as a vassal. I'm not quite sure.
Those
Like a
are
military order that's a vassal to you or something like that.
those are good ideas. It would be interesting if there was a policy that you could put into place. If you have Order of Chivalry, you then it enables you to to enact a policy that creates a subject military order that is just a chivalric order of knights. That sounds cool. And if that's not what this does, I would definitely like to try and invent that on my own. But the has chivalry order makes it sound like I would not be surprised if that is the case where it's like a type of vassal that is chivalry order vassal that you create. It is specifically order of the band. Look at the top. Well, I don't know what that means. Oh wait, implementing policy order of the band. Level set. Chivalry order allows the following policies, but implementing policy order of the band. Does this mean that this is a policy?
It unlocks all of those various orders. It looks like you can only have one at a time, and I wouldn't be surprised if these various ones have different effects. So, like,
Yeah.
Order of the Band gives noble levy size plus 10%.
Oh! Yeah, okay, okay. It's not that has chivalry order lets you choose one of these. It's that when you implement a policy of one of these orders, it triggers a thing. They triggers a flag that says you have one. You have a chivalry order, which theoretically does, among other things, disabling you from having others. And what this does probably doesn't then make a subject for you. What this does then is seemingly just flat 10% boost to noble levy size, which is pretty nice because nobles are going to be. We know that nobles are going to be the most powerful levy type, and for the first, for the beginning of the game, they're going to be very strong levy type because that's where your knights and such are coming from. So playing as France, want to load up on those noble levies. Just don't get them all killed by English longbowmen. It could make an IO for characters. Nah, that's not a thing that would happen. You have a unique military law for European countries, the Order of Chivalry one. It always unlocks a unique policy. So the Order of Chivalry law always unlocks a unique policy, which is country driven. So for instance, we have the Castilian Order of the Band instituted by King Alfonso, the Avenger, 1332. This is a work in progress content, so these are obviously not all the chivalry orders that will be available, only ones we've implemented so far. So you pass the law Order of Chivalry, which then enables you to implement a policy, which is apparently something else, being the policy of having an order. That's interesting. I wonder what all the other ones do. I'm sure that they probably don't all do something like increasing levy size. The order.
Yeah, there's an explanation below the screenshot that is cut off on your stream.
Well, the explanation here, talks about how there's other ones. But it doesn't say what they all do.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, yeah. I'm curious what the others do. I'm like, oh, well, the Order of the Swan, I don't know if that's a historic one. I imagine it probably is.
So like the Order of the Dragon, I know off the top of my head was, I think that was Hungary. Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Dragon, got that name because he was a member of the Order of the Dragon. So I don't know if that would be like Diplo rep or something like that, honoring foreign nobles. I can't remember. But yeah, will be interesting to see what they all do.
It's so. Yeah, Rasak. It's seemingly so. The Order of Chivalry is a unique law for Western Europe that then enables further unique policies underneath it, depending on where in Europe you are. So if you're in Spain, you have the unique Spanish. You have some unique Spanish ones that you get in addition to some generic ones, which is really cool. You understand that each of the different orders might have different bonuses, but it would be fun to rename them. You want to have an order called the Order of Sand. Damn it. I walked right into it. I didn't see it coming. I thought I was safe from the sand. We're done with Tinto maps, but the sand comes back. Again, this is the look at what you can mod talk. It is. It really is. Yeah, because this is a great baseline for something to make all sorts of unique laws that enable different policies that give you bonuses, and then trigger a flag that says you have one of these things, and that can do other things. I'm sure that once I get my hands on the code, I'll be able to myself, as well as many others, world build all sorts of goofy stuff that'll be fun to implement. Probably not that difficult either. This all looks really simple. Like this would probably be so simple code wise. Just are one of these culture groups has this culture group, or is this religion? Any number of things like that makes it visible. But moving along, because there are quite a few things. I think quite a few things. Yeah, there's still a fair few things to get through. Estate privileges. There are several privileges that you can grant to the different estates. These might also interact with other forms of content, either being unlocked or unlocking them, which makes it key to select them wisely. So, yeah, yet another case of you have a privilege which unlocks more privileges or more laws or oh. Monthly progress towards aristocracy. Promotion speed down. The Great Council of Venice. Oh, it's a Venice one. The Libro di Oro is a starting estate privilege for the Venetian patriz patriziato, the nobility. It gives plus 5% estate satisfaction and plus 10% estate power to the nobles, plus a couple of additional modifiers. It also triggers a recurring event and adds a new noble adds new noble dynasties to Venice, making nobles even happier at a certain monetary cost. It might be costly to get it revoked, though. Pop promotion speed down. I like the idea that it... Because we do know that there's this whole, like, yeah, local noble families thing that's going to be in this game. And if you can't marry a prestigious foreign family, you might have to settle for one of the local families. Then that will be quite curious. The fact that this generates more noble dynasties having this is curious, because that might be a case of you're running out of local dynasties for some reason or other, and you want more for one reason. So maybe you'll implement this privilege specifically because you want more noble dynasties. But the fact that it decreases promotion speed is rough, because that means that nobles are going to be harder to replace pop-wise. You love how interconnected everything can be? Indeed. That is very nice. Oh, I just noticed the revoke privilege cost. Oh.
Yes.
Damn. Oh, I know there's ways that you can make it cheaper to revoke stuff, but 100 stability. Wow. And you're never going to be sitting at a plus 100 stability. So this would drop you so far down. This will just demolish your country. if you do this when it costs this much. No wonder it says it might be expensive to revoke. Yikes. Moving on to advances. Ooh. The Epic of Sundiata, an advance that's unique to Mali, I imagine. Because that's Sundiata Kita, presumably. The also humble advance is the second most common flavor content after events. There are plenty of unique advances, usually from 1 to 3 per age in those countries with unique ones, plus specific regional advances and religious ones, which is also fantastic because that means that you've got Mali here, which has anywhere between 1 to 3 unique ones per ages, if it has unique ones, and then it also has you've got the regional ones that are just unique to the region that you're playing in, and then religious ones on top of that. So there's going to be a ton of unique flavor for different such. Mind you, sometimes it's pretty simple, like army morale, but that's a big number. Plus 10% is a really big number. Plus 10% army morale is a lot of morale.
I don't think so. Actually, I think it's more. Actually, I think it's relative to the amount of morale that you currently have.
Sometimes simple is
because
enough.
it's a percentage and not flat.
Well, it's not. I mean,
yep.
In EU4, 10% armor morale is a lot. Because it's.
I don't know.
No, these are additive. They're not multiplicative. So.
But it's also percentage.
Johan literally responded in a comment that these are additive. They're not multiplicative.
That's not what I mean. It's 10% of your current flat morale.
Yeah, because you have like your army morale.
You add the various
number.
Percentage bonuses together.
Yeah.
But you still take the percentage as a bonus applied to the flat number.
Well, I would imagine that's the case, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was only half listening. What was the debate about this particular? That this is underpowered or overpowered?
Oh, I was saying that it's not necessarily large. It's actually subjective based on the number.
I mean, this is half of French Elon in EU4.
This is true, but it's still a big number. France is just crazy. So, The epic tells the tale of the. This advance has been researched. Oh, it's a check. I don't know. Legendary campaign of Sundiata Keita, the founder of the Mali Empire and hero of our people. His story is passed from generation to generation and has always been a great source of inspiration to our people. One of the starting advances of Mali. Yes. Nice, nice. That will be tasty. I'm I don't think France has a plus 20% morale at game start in this game. Because I'm pretty sure that
Probably not.
they have an innovation that gives them more Diplo stuff. Because for Diplo capacity for all their vassals. Alright. Parliament. Presbyterian Education Act. Oh dear, here we go. Parliament agendas and issues. As a part of the mechanics for the Parliament, we're getting agendas and issues. These can also be unique and adapted to the situations experienced by different countries. So while this is being debated, it increases progress towards humanism and free subjects. And if the debate passes, they unlock the Presbyterian education policy, and changes by a flat 2 towards innovative. Oh, and they are moving towards traditionalist over time. Interesting. One of the good parts of national ideas being advances now is the age locking, so you get the bonuses when it makes sense. Indeed, that is a very important thing, that they are in fact tied to ages and not just whenever you decide to spend enough bird points on the weird idea group thing. It's gonna be I love the choices as well. I love how I know some people don't like it, but I really like the choice aspect of being able to sit down and be like, well, what do I want to do in regards to because you get the in EU4 the what is my build kind of thing where you're like, oh, what is my build for this game going to be with my idea groups? But in this game, it's going to be a case of you got to very much consider what do you make your focus in this time period? Do I make it military, diplo, economic in this time period? Because if you go military in this time period, you get this advance. It gives you this bonus. I don't know what those were, but I remember that diplo gives you the ability to fabricate claims and to set up marches if you take diplo focus early. So that's what I care about. I'm going to be going Diplo focus a lot probably because I am a big Diplo enjoyer. Decentralization, Chad.
No, centralize more.
No. The Tripitaka. Korean. All right, well, works of art then. I guess they start with the Tripitaka. Fair enough. There are plenty of scripted works of art in the game at start, more from DHEs. Besides the randomly created ones, of course, this will make the game more immersive, as you'll be able to... Oh, dynamic historical events, yeah. As you'll be able to recognize a bunch of them, and they will also have the effects described in the Tinto talk. So, yeah, at game start, the Koreans will have their unique work of art that will gives more benefits. And it's a stronger work of art than the average one. So I guess they'll be harder to convert. Not going to convert them as easily. That's handy. Characters and artists. New characters and artists, character traits, character interactions, and air selections. Ooh, air selections. How does that tie into this? Oh, well, characters and artists, yeah. I mean, artists are a type of character. Yeah, okay. Oh, ooh, this is the thing I've been waiting for. Oh, I'm like this is something on its own. I need to make a short edited video talking about the fact that partition exists in this game, man. I've been waiting to hear about how this works forever. Oh, we have tons of historical characters, not only at game start, but also appearing throughout the gameplay with dynamic historical events. Besides that, Character traits and interactions are completely scriptable, making it easier to add new types. Oh, that's so good! Oh, as it happens with heir selections. Thus, we also have a bunch of unique ones. Oh, that is fantastic. I can't wait to have an event where Joe Schmo, uh, John Dark Soul rocks up and it's like, well, this character has been dynamically generated. Do you want to make him your heir? Yes. Yes, I want to make John Dark Soul my heir. I have a very specific example that I've wanted to do for a while, where I want to randomly create a character for a specific country in the planned mod, where if yeah, he'll be randomly created, and if you choose to make him your ruler, he will lead the country in a specific direction towards creating a new world exodus thing, which will be fun. And if you don't, then he's just going to sit around as a building-based country and be kind of useless unless he gets lucky. But let us actually talk about partition inheritance. It's a type of succession law for monarchies in which the ruler is the oldest male child of the previous ruler, and all other male descendants receive rights to minor titles and territories. Female children can never inherit nor transfer the right to the throne to their own sons. When a new ruler rises to power, the least controlled provinces of the country get further penalties to their control, as they are divided between the brothers of the new ruler. Huh? Wait, is this not cool? Is it actually lame?
This is partition, my dude. It's the thing you try to get rid of as fast as possible in Crusader Kings.
So but all it does is give penalties to their control? Is that all this does?
Well,
Yeah.
it mentions something farther in here about how this is used to split up things in the HRE, so...
It's full on. Nope, it's full on. Okay, so...
Yeah, so under this particular partition inheritance, the ruler is the oldest male child of the previous rulers, and all other male descendants receive rights to minor titles and territories. So that's why it just drops control in a bunch of things. I imagine there's also one that fully pops out regular realms. I believe they mentioned somewhere that this is the inheritance law that Brandenburg starts with. Yeah,
Stephen von Wittelsbach.
Brandenburg, the country shown above. Which is weird, because that shield looks like it should be Bavaria, not Brandenburg.
Yeah, this is the Wittelsbachs.
Yeah, but I believe... I can't remember. The Wittelsbachs might hold Brandenburg at this date. I can't recall
Well,
if the Hohenzollern
and George Catton in the comments are both proclaiming that it does in fact split up countries. So it's either that this is a different version of it, or it's just that actually I'm thinking what wait, descendants receive rights to minor titles and okay, so what I think that this is saying, and the reason we're confused by this, is the fact that the least controlled provinces of the country get further penalties to their control. The bit that's confusing here is that this seems to us on initial inspection that it's saying, well, it gets further penalties because it's just minor titles in those territories are getting given to the brothers of the new ruler. But I think what this is actually saying is that those territories get even worse penalties to control because they are then split off into new countries, and those new countries have less control because they are suddenly split off into a new country, so it's harder for them to have control over. I figure that's what's going on, at least. And lots of eligibility rules. Current ruler is ignored, allows male, allows children through siblings of ruler. That's all really neat. There's a lot of stuff that's actually being put, like a lot of effort being put into the code here for different triggers and things that, again, you can probably quite simply, unlike in CK3, oh god, can you imagine? EU5 might be easier to mod succession types than CK3, because CK3 it's impossible to make new succession types. It's fucking terrible.
Let's not count chickens before they hatch. These are programmers saying that things are easy to be done.
This looks easy if it's just eligibility rules, and it's like, well, through siblings of ruler, allow children,
yeah, but
allow
then you have all the back end logic of like, okay, what actually splits off and stuff like that. Like,
you're right. that it might be a
Like,
case of there being like it being virtually impossible to modify things like how strong is the partition, what does it check for,
yeah,
this and that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, it's easy enough to say who's eligible, but I'm just where let's not count our chickens about, oh, this will be so easy for us to do before we actually get our hands on the code.
For all we know, the game might come out and then you swap allow male to allow female, and then you find out only too late that when you do partition succession with allow female, the game doesn't comprehend the possibility of giving land to women, so it will allow them, but like it'll do something really weird, like only if your primary heir is female, it'll give
code.
the primary title to a woman, but none of the siblings will get minor titles and split off countries if they are women, because it doesn't check for that somehow in like the hard-coded depths of the game. You missed most of the stream. Oh, there's probably plenty. I think there's still stuff to talk about yet. Yeah, there's still a few things to talk about yet. Don't worry, we're like halfway through, I think, at this point. But you did miss the talk about us like yammering about partition succession mostly. Yeah. Uh, and there has been plenty of allusions to the mod that we're gonna do. But oh well. Too bad. Partition inheritance is unique succession law that is unlocked by having an active estate privilege for the nobility. Okay, so this really is a case of purge that instantly. An active estate privilege for the nobility, you say? I can't wait to just instantly delete that shit. Also, this definitely. Remember, Vector, we had been speculating about the idea of France having a unique Dauphinate succession, where like it gives like this sounds like the perfect way for them to implement something like that, where like they create new Dauphins of the eldest son. I really hope that's a thing that they do, because we know that there is a Dauphin of France at game start. It's like, oh, I really like. How cool would that be? Is it as you continue through the game, you could just choose to like at the very end of the game, you just have it as a part of the game where you just every time a new ruler is selected, well, there's a vassal that was the heir to the throne. You then get that land back, and then it chooses the new eldest son, and then he gets some new land someplace in your country as his princely title. It's just so cool. I love that idea. In any case, what the hell is this child wearing? The third in line is wearing a huge whack thing on his head. Privilege for nobility, the right to inherit, which is only available to countries of the German culture group. This is one of the historical reasons behind the fragmentation of lands in the Holy Roman Empire, as principalities used to be split among the heirs, creating several branches of the same dynasty. A good example of this is at the start of the game are the Wittelsbachs, the ruling imperial dynasty. Spread over several different countries, like Brandenburg, the country shown above. The Wittelsbachs are in charge of Brandenburg. That's right. I forgot. The people that in the future come to rule Brandenburg are an OPM, I think, at the moment. But this whole thing about partition being unique to the Germans. I wonder what Joffrey, the man who loves Holy Roman Empire stuff, is going to do with that in his own mod. I wonder how many people are going to have partition in this, huh? Buildings. Versailles. Building type. This is a unique building that the French get? So, yeah, I mean, we've seen lots of buildings already. But Yeah, as shown by Johan, we have lots of different buildings in the game, but more importantly, we can also have unique ones that are either unlocked by conditions, like playing with a certain country, or playing a country of a certain religion or culture. That's right, because there are very few things that are tag locked. I imagine that the country Mali is not the tag that has that specific tech for the extra 10% morale. That is probably something that is for all countries that are generated with Mali culture. So if there's a revolt and some new country appears that has Mali culture, they will also have that innovation. You want a 900 HRE to see if this partition thing really work to turn into a fragmented empire. Yes, I already intend to make the HRE. Like I've been mapping out the HRE for the equivalent of the HRE for this mod, and it is. I plan to make it at least 50% larger than the vanilla's HRE. So you've got that. Honestly, I'm just limited by land space to stick it in. There's just not enough space. It's so sad. But Versailles, unique France building with this weird image of like some dude in lederhosen dancing for some reason. Very French. Cultural tradition and influence. Ah, yes, so this is something that helps with the whole lingua franca thing. It's not exactly cheap to make, though.
Jeez, it's almost like Versailles was fucking expensive.
Hey, at least you don't need silk. The French don't know about that yet, I guess. They don't know what they're
Fine
missing.
cloth.
Yeah, I remember when I read about fine cloth, I was like, oh, thank goodness. You don't literally need to import silk for everything early game from all the way in the east.
Sometimes cotton does just as well.
It does just as well when the Flemish make it, I guess.
Oh no, they used wool.
Oh, that's right.
Cotton was rather uncommon at this stage. Well, at the Versailles stage, it was a bit more common, but at
Yeah.
the start date, no.
Actually, now that you mention it, yeah, this is at the Versailles stage. They could totally use silk. I mean, it would be expensive still, but they totally could. Yeah.
They'd probably be using cotton.
Cotton. The worm. The Palace of Versailles is a major complex of the royal residence, with several salons, halls, chambers, a chapel, and even an opera. Diplomats and members of the high circles come regularly to the palace to do their bidding with the French royalty. This is an example of an event-created building, the Palace of Versailles. It is not created automatically, as you need an upfront cost of 500 gold, some materials that are taken from the market Paris belongs to, and a default building of a time of 360 days, 1 year. The benefits of the building are increased cultural tradition and influence, and it employs a lot of nobles. You need to have them occupied. Yes, that is 500 nobles. That is quite a few. You need the nobles doing something. Units. I have been also very much looking forward to this. Gosh, there's going to be so many small videos that I need to make to summarize some of the things here. Jeez. Besides the generic types of units that compose an army, we also have unique ones that, again, are completely scriptable. They are usually available for an age and afterwards. When a unique type appears, it's up to the player to either upgrade them or keep them. Good. I can keep my trash early game units longer if I wish. Wow, there's a lot of stuff to digest here. So, yeah, Elephant Cavalry, which is something I was looking forward to seeing information on, so I'm glad that this is the one we see. A monthly cost, monthly upkeep of just manpower, as all units do, we've heard. Leather cloth elephants and weaponry. A full unit of elephants, and just a bit of all the others. Yeah, makes sense. Required maintenance. Yeah, a pretty good chunk of elephants, too. You 10 units of elephants will use a whole 10 elephant regiments will use an entire elephant resource per, or entire unit of elephants per month. That is a lot. Maximum strength 50. Combat power. Frontage 1. Ooh, what does frontage do in regards to a unit? Does that mean like how much they take up?
Probably how much they take up.
An elephant cavalry only takes up 1. Maybe later in the game. Oh yeah! Later in the game, as time advances, units get larger as well. I mean that's another thing. They mentioned that like the early game units of knights and stuff, all these units are going to be much smaller. So that way early game you can still have a lot of units and like divide it up because realistically, yeah, maximum strength 50. You don't have a unit that's just 1,000 fucking elephant riders. In 1337, you know, just like, well, here's a regiment, just a cheap and easy 1,000 elephant dudes. Um, but here, oh god, there's terrain impact too. This is fantastic. I can't wait to fuck around with that. I did not think they were going to do that. This is honestly one of my favorite things I've noticed just now about this. Terrain impact is going to be a thing. Oh god. But yeah, over time your units get larger as you recruit larger and larger numbers of line infantry and such. Exciting stuff to be sure. And as such, the frontage will increase. Until eventually you get to a point where some of the units have so much frontage that if you're fighting in a jungle mountain, you can only have one unit fighting at a time. So I don't know what you can do. Though maybe there will be a case of you get tech that increases your ability for frontage. Can't wait for a unique unit of dragon / other cool mythical creature riders. Yeah, I definitely am gonna have to make a bunch of unique units for stuff like that. Um, EU5 is going to be a playground when it comes to armies, way more so than EU4 was, because you don't need to just like with Anbanar's stuff, like where there's the Vern, you have the country of Vern, and there's the guys that ride griffins. You got the Wyvern riders, the Griffin riders, and the troll countries, where it's like you have these monstrous units, and it's like, well, you represent it with here's a modifier. They just do extra damage here and recover their morale slower or something. I don't know. Tamed monsters trade goods. Ooh, that's a. You're cooking with gas here, Rasak. Rasak, maybe you should join the Discord server so we can get you in the world building channel. I like this idea. Write that down. Write that down. Tamed monsters trade. No. It's not that you have a tamed monsters trade good raw resource. You make different types of monsters. You make the different types of monsters that you can find as different resources, and then you need to make a building that makes the raw resource of monsters into tamed monsters, and then you use the tamed monstrous units for your actual. Yes, your actual soldiers. Yes, like and they turns them into the elephants essentially that you use. Yes, this is the idea. It's brilliant. Unit weight per strength, 100%. Not entirely sure what that means though. But yeah, that's another case where you need to see more units to have a full scope of what that means specifically. Damage from attrition, 25%. The fact that these are red is curious to me because this makes it sound like these are like worse than something else. Like, do they take is 25%? Does this mean like some units? Oh yeah, because this is probably saying that like if they are taking attrition, then like because you're out of supplies, you will lose every tick. So like every month or something. I don't know how often attrition's being ticked. If they're out of supplies, the elephants will lose 25% of their unit. Maybe. I don't know. Hard to say. But yeah, food consumption and stuff. Yeah, it's all bad. Flanking ability is nice, I imagine. But yeah, combat speed and initiative. These are other things I want to see more of. We don't have enough examples to know how good these sorts of modifiers are compared to other units. But these are all things you really want. Movement speed is interesting because that means that if you have certain types of units on the map, you can detach them and have your army move faster if you don't have them. And there's a couple races that I can think of. One specific underground race. You see like terrain impact and combat performance. There's one specific race that underground in our mod should be able to be like absurdly fast. They should have stupidly good terrain impact underground for like underground terrain types. So like they would have probably average stats in general, but like if they're underground, they get ludicrous boosts. That'll be fun to talk about sometime. But this is all stuff I am thrilled to see because modders can mess with this stuff so much because this means you can make your unique terrain types and then have unique units, and those unique units are affected differently by the unique terrain types. So you can have something like this is a special type. Here's the frickin' glass desert. Which I don't know if I mean, it would probably have to be unique terrain type, or maybe a modifier would work. I don't know. But you have the glass desert, and then someone's gets a unique bonus in there that's different as opposed to normal desert. Combat speed is how fast they plug gaps. Initiative is how fast they get engaged when in one of the combat roads. It's hard to judge until we play with it. Yeah, yes, they're very important modifiers. Combat speed is. I don't know. I thought actually that it was that combat speed is how often. I think is that combat speed is how often they get to make the choice. It's like how often it's like how often they get to try to decide, do I want to plug a gap or not. So the higher this number is, the more times that you roll the dice, do they plug a gap. And initiative is how good their chances of actually doing it are. So elephants are a fast unit. Theoretically, they're a fast unit, so they get a lot of chances to, but their initiative might be lower. We just don't know how good these modifiers are. Uh, elk cavalry good in forests. I don't know about elk riders, but there's some other funny creature I intend to have some elves riding. I forget its name. Jackalope. Jackalope riding elves. That's one thing we're gonna have. Because jackalopes are great. This is what happens when you have primarily North American people planning a mod because you think about things like a freaking jackalope. No one is moving from the reserve into a combat row. The other is the what one is moving from reserve to a combat row, and the other is the engage. Oh yeah, you're right, Rasak. You're right. Combat speed is Yep, yep, yep. I forgot that the reserve is the thing, and you need to actually bring them onto the field, and then once they're on the field, they need to move from the back into the front. That's good. Just good. Thank you for clarifying that. I didn't think of that. But elephant cavalry is a type of cavalry unit available for Indian countries. It is some no Carthage. Oh, no Carthage in this game. It has some interesting stats, and it employs a lot of elephants, logically, which are only present in Southeast Asia, as the African elephants were not employed for warfare in our game's period. It is a unit that performs very well in jungle terrain, thus making it very valuable in southern India, but not as much in the Gangetic Plain. Well, I guess, yeah, there's a lot more, because the north of India has a lot more mountains and wetlands, so it wouldn't be as effective there. But it's not affected by most terrain types. But it's a lot better. It's a lot better in jungle. 20% boost to combat performance, and jungle has 25% less penalties on it. That's nice. Ships. Similar to units, there are unique types of ships that also usually last for an age. Naval supplies, tools, weaponry, liquor, maintenance of liquor. Brilliant. Crew size, frontage. Blockade capacity. So different types of ships are better at blockading. Hull size, cannons. Anti-piracy impact, I like that. An original invention from the Iberian Mediterranean coast, the Catalan galley dominated the western Mediterranean Sea in fierce competence with the Genoese galley for the supremacy of the waves. Presumably the Genoese will have their own galley as well. That would be neat. Who else? Who else should have unique stuff in the Mediterranean? Like maybe the Venetians will? Because I mean, they're a big power, but I don't know if they have any unique boats. God, my head's so itchy right now. Um, and cabinet actions. Oh boy, this is the reason that getting an extra minister is so incredibly powerful. Certain countries may have unique cabinet actions for various reasons. This is not a feature we use much, as we need to keep they don't use it much. We need to keep balanced the available number of cabinet actions with the available number of cabinet positions. But in general, this introduced an interesting trade-off, as you may usually not be able to use all the cabinet actions you may want at the same time, therefore having to prioritize which to perform. Yes, I'm sure you will always want to be doing cabinet actions. Ooh, support new farms in north or east. What does that mean? Supporting Finnish and Swedish settlers in the north to colonize and populate the new lands. Sweden has unique cabinet action at the start of the game that helps the country to colonize the vast lands to its north and east, mostly inhabited by Sami and Finnish societies of pops. I see. So the question then is whether you like is this an area locked one? That's something I actually really hope it is area locked, because if this is locked to specific areas, that means that it will be another really easy piece of code to yoink. That's like, well, all right, you have a unique type of minister action, and you can lock it to say you can only use it in certain places. So then I can go like, all right, you have this unique type of minister action that you can only use in underground areas, because that's always the big one. Region lock, one would imagine. Yes. If this is a region locked thing specifically, which I assume it would be, because it is very explicitly saying support new farms in north or east. I wonder if they ever lose this. But yeah, this is going to be very useful for them. And very useful for us to steal the code, yes. Alright. Diplomatic features. How many? Okay, there's 2 left now. You got diplomatic features and religious features. So diplomatic features, things like diplo actions, casus belli, peace treaties, subject types, and subject interactions. All these diplomacy-related features are also scriptable, which means that we can have unique flavor for them all. Besides all the generic actions, which are also scripted ones. Demand Samantha status. If they accept, suggest they become our Samantha, and we will protect them. So a type of subject. Arisa will join Delhi's defensive wars and offensive wars. Oh. They need at least 100 opinion. What's negative 39? So this is a unique type of subjects. A unique type of subject that joins all defensive and offensive wars. That's so funny that you could theoretically then make it, you just flick a switch and then it's like, oh, this type of subject doesn't join your defensive wars. They only join your offensive wars. But if you're attacked, well, that doesn't matter. And the reasons for acceptance are minus 400 really. And they won't show us all the reasons, but it looks like it's a ton of really small reasons. Here we have 2 unique features at once. The first is a diplomatic action, demand Samantha status. As you see, I'm trying to perform it as Delhi against Arisia. The second is the Samantha itself, which is a type of subject, unique to countries in the Indian culture groups. That is very handy to see. I'm curious what the march is like as far as subject types go, because as someone who is I have loved the Diplo game, I want to see what the march subject type gets you. And here we go. Religious features are a mix of hard-coded and scripted features. The second allows us to add unique flavor that intersections specific countries with the religions that they historically worshipped. Okay. We'll talk more about the different religions in future Tinto talks during the year. The Abadi religious school. With the Abadi as a religious school, we get the following effects. So population growth plus 0.10. And Abadi views Zaidi as kindred, and Zaidi views Abadi as kindred. So yes, religions do in fact have different opinions of each other like that. They implied that that was the case. A little spoiler here. Religious schools are a scriptable feature of Islam, and more about that in its future Tinto talks, though. In any case, here you have the Abadi school, which is unique to countries of the Abadi religion. Thus, this is the starting religious school of Oman, one of Johan's favorite playtesting countries. Well, I mean, Oman looks like it's just incredibly weak, but I mean, having unique religion compared to Yemen, maybe it could be fun. Yeah.
No, Oman's super powerful.
Nope.
Yes, it actually is.
So now we are done with the different types of flavor content. Let me add an addendum about a couple of topics, as I think they would be thoroughly discussed in the comments in any case. First topic is the modifier inflation. Okay, we have a bunch of modifiers in the game, as it's not always possible to unlock other content features or more mechanical flavor with our content assets. Though we usually really try, as unlocking, let's say, a new succession law by adopting a new government reform makes for great organic content. However, we're trying to limit the number of modifiers that you can stack, because we at Paradox Tinto may have some PTSD regarding this due to the latest phase of development EU4. So, the content assets that would usually give permanent modifiers are those structural assets that your country has, such as government reforms or policies, which you may want to change to get different modifiers. However, we aren't giving permanent modifiers by conjunctural assets, let's say dynamic historical events, which instead only give temporary ones. This, in general, makes Project Caesar a game much less based on stacking modifiers and more about interacting with the different mechanics. The second topic is the elephant in the room: missions. You may have noticed that this is a usual flavor content used in Paradox Grand Strategy games that we haven't talked about. Well, I can't disclose any details yet, as Johan will be in charge of that in a future Tinto talk. But what I can say is that we don't consider them to be a part of the base flavor of any country, differently to the content shown above. We don't consider them to be part.
Once again, we're cucked out of mission content.
And that it will be present in the game, but in a different way. So it's not. Therefore, in the Tinto flavor post from now on, we'll be focusing mainly on the base country flavor shown above, and we won't be discussing at all about missions, as, again, that will be a topic for the future. So, it is something else. It is not a baseline flavor. Sounds like we're getting Imperator missions. I mean, we have been hearing things that imply as much, but I don't know. It's just weird the way they're describing it as something that they don't consider part of the baseline missions. That does make me very... In our baseline content. It's not part of the base content for a country. Very curious. They will exist. But I do think, I think that is yet more evidence in favor of the way that Imperator missions do things, because I expect that what the reason they mean is not part of the base content is because the base content is stuff that is always available to a country, but the idea of it not being part of that base feature It's like, oh, well, anytime you play this culture, you will always, through time, be able to unlock your unique stuff. Maybe certain things, I'm sure countries have unique missions, but I also suspect that you need to do certain things for them to show up. That's what I would expect it to be. Mission, you like and dislike it because missions were a nice way to insert narrative, but they're also very railroady. Yes. It is a delicate balancing act. And I think that the way Imperator was able to dynamically make them appear was a very good step in the right direction. And I suspect that if they can improve on that formula, they'll have something truly great on their hands. Now, in regards to modders, that can be tricky though, because when you have, mind you, our own plans are not exactly the same as they're not exactly the same as the way Anbanar does their missions, where Anbanar has you play as any number of countries and they have this absolutely fucking enormous train of things that give you tons of stacking permanent modifiers, and any country that doesn't have them feels completely useless. That's not the intended thing that'll draw people to us. That's their thing. We don't want anything to do with that. So I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem for us, because I think that our formula is going to lend much more to the idea of smaller missions that will appear under certain circumstances and can be shared between a lot of people, and more of the flavor that is unique to countries being tied to events and situations. A lot of those other features that they mentioned that are unique for countries, because we can quite easily handle a lot of those things that way, I imagine. But we'll have to see, because this is all, again, speculation until we get our hands on the game. And unfortunately, Pardoner Joffrey is not the biggest channel on the web, so I kind of doubt they'll be giving me early access to this code to play around with, as much as I would love that. So that's probably not going to be until the game's actually out that I get to see any of that. But in any case, that's all for today. Hope that you enjoyed it. Next Friday, they'll start showing the content of a specific country, starting with Florence, which will be our regular weekly schedule from now on. Cheers. Exciting! Ooh. So we're going to see all of Florence's unique stuff, which means they're probably going to maybe explain more about the Guelphs and Ghibellines, maybe?
No, it's gonna be banking countries, the Medici, and likely the Bonfire of the Vanities with Savonarola.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Savonarola. They did talk about him. They're going to have that to deal with. That is something I'd be curious to learn more about as well. Gladly, it's not Aragon. What's wrong with Aragon? Why are you glad it's not Aragon that they're doing first? Damn, one of the people I used to, back before I started the YouTube channel, one of the first, in my old group of people I played Paradox games with, there was a dude who literally called himself Cosimo and had his icon be the Tuscan heraldry. And he would always play Florence, and he was so good in EU4 at Florence, he would wipe the floor with the rest of the group all the time. It was very fun.
For my own part, Florence is one of my favorite games in EU4.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah. I'm sure it will be very exciting here as well. Except when Dark is playing Milan, then you probably should stay away. Dark, you should just play Florence instead of Milan. Because you get the penalty. You get the penalties from the Bonfire of the Vanities. Isn't that cool? Or maybe you become a theocracy. You just get you get Savonarola to rule.
Let me think about it. No.
What? No. Womp womp. They gave Aragon as an example many times in Tinto Talks, getting boring. Well, fair enough. I mean, they did show us the galleys, even in this one. They showed the Catalan galleys. Yeah, I know they show us Morocco first. Morocco probably has tons of content, right? Hmm? But,
I have tons of content.
I think, other than, oh god, there's so much. There's so much to read. I haven't read any. I haven't read any.
And I'm going to call this concluded. That's a lot.
I haven't read the comments in so long though.
We don't need I could just read the first few because they tend to repeat.
Hmm. I mean, there's one right in the meaning.
Oh,
The Poppy saying,
okay.
"The fuck
I
do you
read
mean?"
that. I read that one, and I thought he said, "The fuck? What do you mean?"
That's what I thought it meant. Yeah. The compositions of culture groups into the fuck counties. I don't know what
I
TF
didn't.
means.
I
Oh.
didn't read what he was
Into
replying to.
flavor.
Oh,
Into
oh,
flavor.
Oh. I thought he was just saying the fuck.
but no, he's just saying Tinto. Like he doesn't know what TF means. He doesn't understand that this person's referring to Tinto flavor. The fuck? What do you mean? How many countries have flavor? Around
Into
60.
fuck.
Around 60 countries have received more detailed content, but there is more flavor content. Like Navarra is not one of those 60 countries, but it has received some country content. So presumably that's like, well, they don't have like unique stuff everywhere, but they have like they might not have a ton of unique events or a unique government type and stuff, but they might have unique innovation or a unique advance. They'll have their unique advances they start with. Um, and some other stuff. I don't know. But Middle Kingdom Tinto talk eventually. Combat performance. He's not going to explain that. But yes, it splits country. Partition succession splits countries upon the direct successors of the ruler, thus making the HRE an even funnier place to play. Yes, and for me, I'm going to make it even more countries split up. Countries outside of the HRE are going to have partition because that's going to be funny. All right. Combat performance is bonus or penalty in that terrain, and terrain impact is stuff like attrition. Okay. Hmm. Chivalry order. Okay, yeah. How personal unions work with these? Yeah, too many things that are just. Oh, yeah, we don't have monuments. Yeah, there's too many things that are either just like, well, yeah, we already know. It's like there's no freaking monuments. There's just some unique buildings that appear under certain circumstances, which is cool. Like there's no Inukshuk. There is not the Inukshuk building. Um, yeah, too much of this is just repeat stuff. Got all the information you need from that. So I think
Sad no Inukshuk.
so sad there's no
Inukshuk.
There is not the Inukshuk in the most northern Canadian location on the map. But I also highly doubt there's any interesting developer responses. Yeah, I don't care. Like, flavor talks incoming. What are you hoping for? Oh, Dev responded to that.
Whoa. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
All right. Oh, and just as I'm getting hiccups too. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. 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 All right. So with that, I think, as Vector said, we can consider this concluded. So, I thank you all for watching this first Tinto flavor overview, which I most definitely need to rename and change the thumbnail for. But I thank you all for watching this, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!